Hey AllyCats, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to AllyCat Beauty. In today's video, we will be going over how to apply different types of foundation, and I will be recreating my look from my last video, Makeup 101 Foundation. If you haven't watched that video yet, go ahead and check it out. I have linked it in the description below. I go over all the different types of foundation and how to choose the right foundation and shade for you. Without further ado, let's get started, AllyCats. Alrighty AllyCats, so let's get right into it. Today we are going to be going over how to apply foundation, and I will be recreating my look from the last video. So first I wanted to go over a few different foundations that I have and have used in the past. First, we are going to go over my IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Cream. It is a color correcting full coverage cream. You can use this as your foundation. If you put a lighter layer of it, it can definitely be used as more sheer, but if you want to put a little more product on and build it up, it can definitely be used as full coverage. I used to use it as a concealer, so I would just put it under my eyes and as a primer for my eyeshadow on my eyelids, but it's definitely a versatile product. And then we have our Bare Minerals Bare Pro Performance Wear Powder Foundation. This is a powder foundation. It is a pressed powder versus a loose powder. It has been used quite a lot. And to apply this, when I used to use it, I would just use a fluffy brush like this one. This is my EcoTools Airbrush Finishing Brush. It's got a nice fluffy head and it's very soft as it goes on. So I would just use that to brush that on all over my face. I would do it in circular motions so that I made sure that I got everything covered up. And then we're gonna move on to my Il Makiage Woke Up Like This foundation. It's a liquid foundation. This one is more medium coverage, but it is buildable, and you would apply this with a beauty sponge as well. If you want, you can apply it with a brush, and then if you have some extra streaks, you can also, just like the CC cream, you can also use a beauty sponge to pat that foundation in so that you have a more blended and even look to your face. And then lastly, I've got my Juvia's Place I Am Magic Velvety Matte Foundation. This is a full coverage foundation. It is liquid, but it is a little more on the creamy side, so it's a little thicker than my Il Makiage liquid foundation. But you would apply it the same way with a beauty sponge or with a brush and then a sponge to even it out. So how did I choose which kind of foundation was the best for me? Well, before I used to only use powder foundation, so I would always use this Bare Minerals foundation because I was just scared of using liquid foundation. But my skin type is combination, a lot more towards dry. So once I started using liquid foundation, I realized how much better it was for my skin, because before, when I was using powder, it would make my skin flakier throughout the day, and I would think, oh, maybe I just didn't moisturize enough, but it's actually because the powder foundation is going to be drier on my skin, therefore drying out my skin even more than it needs to be. So with the liquid foundation, I do feel a lot more hydrated. And then once you know what formula you need for your skin type, you get to decide what type of finish you like and what type of coverage you like. So personally for me, if I'm just going grocery shopping, I like light coverage, but in general, I like medium to full coverage, so that's why I went with these two, my Il Makiage and my Juvia's Place, so that I do get that fuller coverage feel in my makeup look. And then for finish, I tend to lean towards matte just because I love my highlighter, so I don't want to look too dewy with a dewy finish plus my highlighter added onto that. So matte is the go-to for me, but like I said in my last video, it's definitely all up to your preference. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna go ahead and set these aside, and we are gonna start putting on my foundation. And we are going to be recreating my look from the last video as well. So what I'm gonna start out with is my IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better Primer. This is an oil-free primer. So since my skin is dry, I tend to look for hydrating primers. This one is a pore refiner and hydrator, so it is gonna help my skin stay moist and moisturized throughout the day. So now we're gonna go in with my Juvia's Place I'm Magic Velvety Matte Foundation. It is in the shade Alexandria 650. And we are gonna go ahead and take my EcoTools Beauty Sponge. I did wet this sponge before. It is recommended when using wet products to wet the sponge before. Otherwise, the sponge will absorb a lot of the liquid foundation or the liquid makeup, whatever you are using with it. I have applied liquid foundation with a dry sponge before, and in terms of application, it does basically the same thing, but I've noticed that when cleaning the sponge, it is a little more difficult to get the product out of the sponge. Alrighty, so to start, we are gonna just put a little bit of this foundation on the back of my hand. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. This foundation is very full coverage and it goes on really easily and really nicely, and it covers my face with even like just this much. So I'm gonna go ahead and start patting that on. As you can see, even with just a little dot, this is already covering up like most of my face. It's doing a very, very, very good job of covering everything up and giving it that nice, even finish. Always make sure when you are using a sponge, you are dabbing and doing what's called a stippling motion. You don't want to swipe the sponge because then that will also create streaks and it will prevent it from giving you that nice even finish. You also want to make sure when you're applying foundation, especially a more liquidy foundation, is that you get into the corners right at your nose and under your eyes so that you don't have any little patches that are missing foundation. So you want to make sure that you get into all the little crevices on your face so that it does create that smooth and even finish that you're really looking for. And then always, always, always blend down your neck a little bit because you don't want that line that just defines your face from your neck. It looks horrible, doesn't look good, and a lot of people do that. But if you blend it out to your neck, it's gonna look a lot more natural. If you want, you can also blend up to your ear a tiny bit just so that it evens out that skin tone there. And then you also want to blend this top part of your hairline because if you notice, like if you don't do it, then there will be a significant difference in color from your scalp to your forehead, and that also looks very unnatural. Alrighty, so that is how I apply my foundation. As you can see, this is a very matte finish. It's more flat looking. Like I said in my previous video, it looks like natural skin. And since I did blend down, you can't really tell for sure that I'm wearing foundation. It just looks very even all around. And then once you have the foundation all over your face, you can take a look and just observe what parts of your skin need a little more attention. So if you have a blemish and you want to put a little more foundation on it, you can, or you can use concealer. It's up to you how you want to cover that up. But you can always just do a little spot check and add a little more foundation to the places where you missed a little bit. But always make sure that you do have a nice flawless base so that the rest of your makeup can go on well. So now that I have my foundation on and I showed you guys how to apply it, I'm gonna continue putting on the rest of my makeup in order to recreate the look that I had in my last video. So I'm gonna be going in with my Il Makiage concealer. It's in the shade 3.5, and I use my concealer mainly for brightening, so I'm gonna put it underneath my eyes, on my nose, on my forehead a little bit, and a little bit on my chin as well. Alrighty, so now that that is all on, I'm gonna go ahead and set my face. So I'm going in with my Kat Von D setting powder in translucent. So what setting powder does is it really allows the foundation or the product to sink into your skin, not necessarily into your pores, but it allows it to kind of dry up and set on your face, hence the name setting powder. It also tends to mattify the product that you were setting, so if you are using a more dewy foundation, if you use setting powder, then it will definitely mattify that a bit, but you can always brighten it up and make it more dewy with setting spray at the very end of your look. So I am going to brush off this setting powder down here and on my forehead as well, because I don't want that to be set for too long. But I'm gonna keep my under eyes for last, just so that they do get to soak up a little more of that powder. Alrighty, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my bronzer, and I'm going in with my Tarte Park Avenue Princess Amazonian Clay Waterproof Bronzer. So I go in on my cheekbones, on my forehead a little, just to give it more of that warmth, and my jawline as well to define it a little bit. Now that I'm done with my bronzer, I'm gonna move on to my blush. I'm gonna be using my Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush in the shade Party. So I'm just gonna take my brush and swirl it in, and I'm gonna go on the apples of my cheeks. And I'm gonna go a little bit on my nose as well. But make sure when you do apply your blush, you always smile so you know exactly where to put your blush. So now that we have that done, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to my eyeshadow. So for the natural part, I went in with my NYX palette. I have this light brown that has been used a lot, so I'm gonna go in with that on the outer corner, and then on the lid I have this shimmery champagne neutral color, so I'm gonna go in with that on the inner portion of the lid. So I'm just taking this angled crease brush. I'm gonna go in just very lightly because I don't want it to be too dark. And I'm going in on that corner, that outer corner in my crease. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, now that I have that V, is I'm gonna go in with the shimmery shade, and I'm just gonna put that right in the middle. So now I do want to add that pop of color. So what I am gonna do is I'm gonna go in with my Trendy in Tokyo palette from BH Cosmetics. I love this palette. It was actually my very first color palette, so I was really excited to try this one. This is what it looks like. So it's really got a rainbow of colors, but today we are gonna go in with the blues. So I'm gonna take this little EcoTools eye/lip blur brush. So I'm gonna go in first on my lower lash line. I'm gonna go in with the color Fortune, which is this nice blue color over here. And I'm just gonna take that under my eye. So I'm not packing it on too much, just because I do want it to blend out nice and evenly. But if you want more color or more pigment, then you can always go over it again with the same color. Alrighty, and then for my inner corner, I'm gonna go in with the shade Lively. It's this kind of bluish green, light turquoise shimmery color. So I'm just gonna pick that up on the same brush. And I'm just gonna go into my inner corner, and I'm gonna blend it out into that light blue that we had as well. So for my eyebrows, I'm gonna go in with my Milk Makeup Gel Brow Pencil. So I'm literally just gonna brush up my eyebrows at first, and then I'm gonna lightly go in with this brow gel. And then I'm gonna brush it out just to give it that more natural look. And then the next thing that I am gonna add as well, just to give the look a little more of a pop so that my eyes don't look too washed out, is I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my NYX Professional Makeup Midnight Chaos Liquid Eyeliner in brown. So what I like to do first is do the ends of the wings on both sides so they're pretty even, and then I go in and line the eye, and then after that, that's when I complete the wing. So I'm gonna do a small wing just to give it a little more color and a little more boldness, but it's still gonna have a very natural look to it. And then, so what I'm gonna do, since it is a little bold, I am gonna go over the eyeliner with my eyeshadow brush just to kind of make it a little less dark. And then what I'm also gonna do, just because the blue kind of just cuts off, I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna take a little more of the Fortune and I'm just gonna bring it up in line with the liner. I am gonna brighten that under eye up a little more too and go back in with Lively to brighten up that inner corner as well. For my lipstick, I'm gonna go in with the Tarte Lip Sculptor in Jam, and then I'm gonna go over it with my NYX Lingerie liquid lipstick in Bedtime Flirt. Okay, so that is the natural lip, and then for the highlight, I'm gonna go in with my Makeup Forever highlight in Starlit Powder, and I'm just gonna do a light highlight on my nose and on my cheekbones. The very last step to finish the eyes, I almost forgot, but it's gonna be our mascara, so I'm going in with the Benefit They're Real Mascara. So I hope you liked that mini tutorial on how to apply your foundation and how to recreate this look. Like I said, I just put the blue in to give my natural look that extra pop of color. You can use any colors you'd like, and it's just a really easy way to add that color without being too bold. So if you wanted to go to work with a little more color on your face, you could definitely do something like this. If the lower lash line is too much for you, you could just pop some color into your inner corner, but it's a very nice and simple way to add that color to your makeup look. Alrighty, AllyCats, so that's it for this video. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you'd like to get a notification every time I upload a new video, go ahead and ring that bell as well. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at AllyCat Beauty. Stay tuned for my next Makeup 101 video on concealer. We will be going through all the different kinds and all the ins and outs of concealer as well. And remember, beauty radiates from within, so don't forget to be confident and be you. See you later, AllyCats!